watching and tuning into the Midnight Tide publishing page. We are here to celebrate Beyond the Cogs, which is our wonderful and beautiful steampunk anthology with lovely authors such as C. Vonzale Lewis and also Nicholas J. Evans and myself. 3 stories, 3 impeccable worlds, and we want to celebrate with you. So if you have any questions during the show, drop them below. It can be a hello or wishing us a happy publication day. We are also doing a huge giveaway today, which I guess we should decide when that ends. We will do that when C. Vonzale Lewis comes on. But it is a massive giveaway, and we will show that off as C. Vonzale Lewis comes on the screen. But it is going to be a candle, a physical book, a pocket watch, and bookmarks. And we decided, because we're so nice and we're awesome, we're also going to be giving out extra bookmarks as well. So let us pull up C. Vonzale Lewis. Hello.
Hello there.
How are you?
I'm doing great. Great.
Fantastic. Happy publication day.
Right back at you.
We're going to pull up Nick. Here we go. Hello, Nick.
Hey.
How's it going?
Pretty good.
It is going pretty good. We are all partying tonight. I've got, Jack to party with. Carla has her, I don't know what is in her glass, but she's got something.
I put a little Captain in it. And it's in a Jack Daniels glass, but Captain's in here.
There you go. So we are in the spirit tonight. But Carla, as we are tuning in, what are we giving away today?
I'm glad you asked, Elle. Today, we are giving away, let me get it right on my camera there.
There you go.
That watch. Not my nails, guys. The watch. Look at that. Isn't that cute? Yes. And Elle makes these wonderful candles. We're giving away one of these. Awesome scent. Smells really good. Of course.
A very clean scent, guys. I'm just going to let you know because I am the master behind the candles. It is a very clean scent. So if you like powdery scents or like nice bathroom scents or something just to go soft in your bedroom, that's what it smells like.
Yes. And our lovely book, of course, with 2 bookmarks.
Yay! And also, you heard me at the start of the show saying that we are giving out extra bookmarks too. So the more you interact with us, comment below, share this, you're going to be entered to win those bookmarks anyway. So there we go. That is a giveaway. And how long do you guys want to run this for? Let's just spit this out. A week to end of the month?
As long as this baby lasts.
Okay. Oh, that's not going to be very long.
Well, I have the refill bottle behind me. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's just do this.
All right. Let's crank through this interview. And if you guys have questions, drop them below. Feel free to share this with your friends and family. So I'm going to start with you, Carla, and go down to Nick and then back to myself so I can get this answered as well, since I was also participating in this. What was your inspiration for your story? You can go into detail because I know you're just dying to tell everybody where this inspiration came from.
I don't recall. I was...
Elle kicked my
flustered. Elle was breathing down my neck. She told me I can write this, and I was like, I don't know, just knee deep in doubt. And then I started a story and wrote 4,000 words of it, and I was like, yeah, this is not working. So I went back into it. Vampires. I've always wanted to write a vampire story, but I wanted to write an origin story because you see so many vampire stories that you're already established in the world they're always really pretty and put up in these nice apartments, or they're really morbid and scary. And the one thing I've always wondered about vampires is, where does that blood go? I mean, they're drinking it. They can't digest it. They're not using the bathroom. So where does the blood go?
These are the hard questions.
I know, that's like that's a deep, dark place.
I had a lot of questions and nobody was answering them. I sent out a lot of mail to a lot of authors, and that got a little crazy, but nobody answered me. So I said, you know what? Maybe it's not blood. Maybe it's something else that's sustaining them. And at the same time, because my mind is like this freaking crazy video game and it's constantly going, and at the same time I was thinking about this study. Let's pull up the old book, shall we? Done by Dr. named Duncan McDougall. In case you guys can see it. He did this study where he tried to weigh the human soul, and he concluded it weighed 21 grams. I thought, that's kind of interesting. The human soul actually leaves the body when you die, and it's 21 grams. Put those two together because, they naturally go together, vampires and the human soul. And that's where my story came from. Now, Parasol, on the other hand, I might have had one of these prior to this. Parasol, on the other hand, I had her name in the other story, but it still fit in this darker tale. Her sister, on the other hand, which I won't tell you who she is, Pearl, just going to tell you, giving away spoilers. I thought she was kind of interesting because I was like, how can I bring the steampunk alive in this world along with the characters? And I thought Pearl would be a good way to do it, and her horse Betsy. Back to my story. I lost my train of thought. That's how I came up with the story for mine, the Soulless ones. Just thought about vampires and where does that blood go? And I wanted to answer that.
And it was a very interesting tale. Like, yours is the grittiest tale out of all of ours, because it has like that, true grit feel with vampires. Like, I love the movie True Grit. I am such like a Western buff. I know I probably don't look it, but I'm a nerd when it comes to Clint Eastwood and John Wayne. I love that grit, and you brought that home. And I know you struggled so hard with this. And I was like, you can do it. I was championing you. You can do it. Really, if you can't go into the, Victorian aspect, if you can't get into that historical vibe in that sense, really focus on Wild Wild West and how fun that was and how, creative that was. And I'm so glad that you stuck with it because you did an amazing job. And I'm so proud of you. So pat yourself on the back or take another drink.
I'm going to chime in on that. For your story, Carla, for me, it kind of felt like Preacher. I don't know if you're familiar with the graphic novel series Preacher, where it's very Western, but there's a lot of supernatural elements to it.
Oh.
Yeah, so I thought that was awesome because I love Preacher. Just so we're out there. I'll put it right out there right now.
I have not read it, but I do know about it.
And I'm going to read it now.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to read it.
Yeah.
It's a little problematic. It's kind of old. I'll just put that out there right now.
Hey, you know what? I love Nightbreed. Remember that movie?
I don't know that one.
You never seen Nightbreed?
No.
Where have you been?
I don't.
You're probably making candles.
I was gonna say in my dungeon making candles. But Nick, same question to you. Where did the inspiration go? Feel free to dive as deep as you want into this because yours was the most classically steampunk in the sense that you brought home all those gadgets, all of that world building in such a small story where I could hear the whirring of engines and I could really see this huge picture that you painted for us in such a tight word count. And it was fascinating to me. I totally enjoyed it.
Well, thank you. So I have to kind of say the same thing. I was writing a different story, which I say anything, but basically it's about the other world in question. That's what I was writing about. And I do a lot of sci-fi stuff. And I was like, you know what? I want to kind of tap into more fantasy realm, but I miss gadgets. I miss like the inventions and things like that. So I started adding that in. I'm like, this isn't working. Like, what if we just went somewhere else? Same people, but for whatever reason, they had to go here. And that's kind of what started it. And I think that's why it almost seems like there was something already existing. Like there was something else happening outside of that story. Is I had the characters, I love the characters, and I just brought them right on over, plopped them in this weird place, came up with some inventions. But I wanted to keep fantasy elements, so there is like quote unquote magic. Not really fully explained, but there's magic. I won't say anything more than that. And I also really wanted to write a classic uncle character, which comes
Oh yeah.
I really just wanted like the fun drunk uncle.
Everybody needs one of those.
If there's a world to put it in, it's a steampunk world. So that's mine.
And it was honestly such a fun one. I typically don't make a point in reading reviews, but I collected them for like some promo stuff. And I know one reviewer actually compared it to like a steampunk Final Fantasy, which was pretty awesome.
Final Fantasy VII, which is one of my favorite games of all time.
Exactly. Like
I know what they're talking about too. I was like, I guess so. I didn't really think about that, but subconsciously, probably.
But and I'll get more to that in a second. But like, yeah, I was reading that and I'm like, you know what? Whether they said it, like tongue in cheek or they meant it as a compliment, I'm like, that to me is a compliment because
yeah. I read yours, Nick, and I sent Elle a message. I said, yeah, I suck. It's a steampunk story. I was like, I can't do this.
She did. She's like, no. I don't understand steampunk. I'm not understanding how to write it. What does yours look like? Like comparing homework. Like, what is yours? What are your answers?
I was like, okay, he wrote steampunk. I did it.
And I was like, no. They're like, that's the amazing thing about steampunk is you have, Nick's story, you have Carla's story, you have my story. And getting to my story, mine is more classic in the sense that it feels more like a Victorian vibe. You have aristocrats, you have, these like this caste system, if you will, like the aristocrats and the lowborns and, the peasants and whatnot. And while I still had airships and I had, cogs and wheels and automatons, really the whole premise to the story really focused on the characters, and it was really driven by the characters. And the backdrop of the story was the steampunk elements. So you had like I said, the automatons that are just walking around, and people mostly have servants in the form of automatons because, they last forever. You don't have to hire new help, you don't even have to feed them. So you just have to change the oil once in a while. So you're good to go. So that was mine, but really the inspiration for it. And like Nick said, it was accidental. As I was writing my story, I started noticing more and more nods to Frankenstein. And once I noticed that, I kind of like let myself go and I leaned into it. But originally, like everyone else, I was actually writing a different story. The leading story that is one day going to be a series actually has some of the characters in this story in it, which I'm not spoiling anything.
I can spoil it for you.
No. And these characters, I wanted to know the why. And I was like, you know what? I started the story because it was really important. I wanted to hash out the characters' why. And it just ended up developing into this like Frankenstein type story. And I ran with it and made a lot of people cry. And
Yeah.
It was sad.
Yeah, it was very sad. Very sad.
My editor yelled at me. Carla yelled at me. Nick just keeps going. It was sad, Elle. It was sad.
Yes.
But yeah, that was my inspiration. Really, was another story that I started, and I wanted to know the why, and this is why. So if you read it, I am sorry, but enjoy the other two.
It's a good sad though. It's very like gothy.
Yeah.
Like it's very like Neil Gaiman-y in that way.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's good sad.
Well,
It's a
thank
vibe.
you.
I sense a theme here. We all were asking why about something.
Yeah,
Interesting.
we were filling in a hole as to why, but why? Very interesting, guys. Good theme. Good theme. So Carla, what was the hardest part of your story? I know you kind of went into that, but you can go into either like the mechanical part of it, characterization. Take it away.
Characters I don't have a problem with. I love running characters. But yes, adding steampunk to it and making it my own. Like I was like, okay, I can either copy what someone else has done by looking at several books, or I can create something that's a little different. So that was the hardest part, was creating the steampunk. Like I could write the entire story and not have the steampunk elements in it, and I would have been perfectly fine. But I said, I need to put some steampunk elements in it. And I don't think I did not have a problem with Pearl, which is Parasol's sister. She was there front and center the entire time. So, I mean, Betsy was a surprise, because when I got towards the end of the story, when I was writing her, I was like, did Betsy just do that? And that's a spoiler, so I'm not giving it away. And I was like, okay, well, let me go back and insert a few more instances of that. But yeah, that it was just a steampunk, and trying to stick to the word count, which I didn't. So yeah,
right. I gave you some wiggle room.
Yeah, you did.
Don't be stuck on that. Don't worry about that. Nick, what was the hardest part for you?
So for me, I love writing gadgets and things like that. This is my first time with steampunk, but I like building that kind of stuff. It was honestly the start and the end, because I was pulling from another story, and I know that people have commented on that as well, where if I were to pull from what I had already written and try and fit that in, my word count would have been crazy. And mine is relatively short right now for the story. But in general, I felt like I wouldn't be able to like fit in those lines, because it would add so much in the beginning and so much at the end just to explain everything. So I was like, where am I going with this? Like, where do I start this and where do I cut this off without it becoming a whole different story? So that's what I really struggled up until, like, even when I sent it, I was like, I don't know if I picked the right start and stop point, but I can't go into another 5,000 words about this is where they all come from. I'm not steampunk. Like I can't go into that.
This has nothing to do with steampunk, and I'm gonna write about it.
People get pages in, they'll be like, "What is this?"
Yeah, like what did I just pick up? And
yeah,
where did I?
No, I think it would have been interesting because I love backstory.
Yeah,
I absolutely love history.
That's your downfall too. So,
yeah, it is. But I own that bad boy. I own it.
So I'm gonna have to agree with that and say like the hardest part was really selling the steampunk elements. I love steampunk, but conveying it in a way that the reader can visualize it is hard without it being super clunky. And without it taking the forefront, because you don't want that driving the story. You want these characters to really be upfront. You don't want the mechanics so much to get in the way that we're just focusing on what these cogs are doing, what the here we go. Automatons are doing. The steamships, you don't want that really taking over, so that, and then because you run out of words, when you're on a word count anyway. So that was the hardest part for me, was creating the world so it was a character itself, but it was a background character. It was an NPC. It wasn't
Good term.
Right. It was, the background character chatting away, the backdrop of the park, the airship in the sky, the servant automatons walking around, the steam hackneys. It became something like that rather than in your face, because that was the way that I wanted to go. And that was the hardest part for me. So people still knew that this was a steampunk story, and they didn't feel cheated, and as far as steampunkness went, while still staying true to the story that I wanted to tell. So that is my complicated, long-winded answer, because I'm starting to get chatty.
I'll do that for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, Carla, who do you relate to the most as far as your characters go?
Pearl.
Any particular reason why? Yeah,
she's a smart ass, and I just love her. I'm like, she's just a smart, and I love that. And if I ever do explore this series after I finish writing the other 6 books in my other series, if I ever do explore this series, I'm gonna love writing her.
And people absolutely loved her too, and also Parasol. But the duo really made it. And Nick, what about you? Did you relate to anybody the most in your story?
I mean, it's I would say it's the driver.
Yes, I knew you were gonna say I like the driver.
Just based on description alone.
I like the driver.
I don't know. I thought it's when it comes to like stories and novels and things like that, I like the idea of the side character. I mean, some of my favorite characters of any medium are always side characters. So that's who I relate to. Watching everything else go on, and I'm just trying to do my job,
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Oh man, no, the sidekicks. Honestly, I love the sidekicks. They usually have the most personality, I think as far as characters I relate to the most, I'd probably relate to Chris, the main character in my story, and the good and the bad. Chris has a temper. You get to see that in the story. I won't spoil anything, but that is me. The gentleman, if you will, until you mess with his loved ones, and that would be me. So I guess this is kind of the same thing, but also not quite, because it could be a different character. Who was your favorite character to write, Carla?
I still would say Pearl, but also Jackson.
I liked him.
Yes.
I wanted more of his story. Like, what was the story? Like, I know there's like a time and a place for that, but I'm like, oh, I want to know.
Yeah, I like Jackson.
Yeah, exactly. That's a whole another book. Like,
yeah, it is. And you know what? I also liked your character, Elle.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I loved her character because she was strong, and she was just like, you got to do what you got to do.
Okay.
But yeah.
You got to do what you got to do. Suck it up, Buttercup. Like,
yep.
What about you, Nick?
I mean, now I'm lost. Are we talking about most difficult character to write or best character to write?
Favorite, and it could be the most difficult. If your favorite is the most difficult, go for it.
I think my favorite would be the main character because he's different than other characters I've written in general, where I wouldn't call him an anti-hero. I would call him misunderstood. Um, so definitely him. But I like writing all the characters. Granted, there's only a few of them because a lot of the characters exist outside the story. But if I had to pick, I guess like something that's not the character, I love that city. I
So did I.
read the city as a character. I like the idea of their whole kind of flawed legal system with the wardens and everything. So that character, the city itself.
See, I like that answer because that coincides what I said earlier in regard to creating the world to be a character in itself, and be like an NPC. So now you're going to make my answer difficult because I'm like, I feel the same way. However, I'm going to say my main character, Chris, because he's the very reason why I wanted to create this story. I wanted Wise as for him and other characters in the story, because things happen, and I can't really go into detail without spoiling it. But things happen, and I wanted to know all of the whys. Why? So I would say that Chris was really my favorite to explore because he's very complicated and he tries to restrain himself into being a gentleman and what society wants him to be. But in the end, really, it comes down to his heart and what he's willing to do for his heart. So that is my answer. But I also love Ogderland, which was the fantastical city that I built. So I'm going to vote both on those.
I want to do over, and I want to say I loved destroying New Orleans.
This city. We built this city.
Exactly. I loved destroying New Orleans, but I also love the fact that it survived what, I said happened to society at this time in my story. So,
and I love that you did that and that it was revived in such a way. So I agree. I think we should all vote city and the character that we picked.
Yeah.
Carla, did you learn anything while writing this? It could have been like a new style. It could have been patience, listen to yourself, listen to Elle more often.
All of those. And I also learned that to listen to myself. Because had I just said, you know what, no, I'm not going to write that one that just came in my head, I'm going to keep going, I would have told a completely different story. So I'm glad I just followed my instinct. Yeah.
I am too. I apologize for the dogs. My husband's
okay.
Nick, what about you? I'm going to mute myself while they bark, but you go ahead and answer.
Okay. So, one thing that I've learned very recently, as far as a minute ago, is I shouldn't have done a black backdrop with a black hat and a black shirt because my face is just floating. My pale face is just floating in the darkness right now. So, I'm learning, everybody. But for me, I don't write in that perspective in first person. I typically don't. And this was something where I was like testing it out and I really wanted to try it because I was already working on another book written that way and I was struggling. So I was like, let me do something where I'm already focused and I can like just expand. And I know that's not, I didn't learn anything from the characters necessarily, but what I learned is it's difficult if it's not your typical writing style. I really prefer being on the outside rather than being in the MC's head. So it was fun and it was challenging.
Definitely, I agree with that. There are point of views that I just don't write in first person. Really is one of them because I find it is very hard to stay in that character without being me, my, me, I, and doing the outside world justice. I can say that I love third person because I feel like you can build and explain and tell so much. Not tell, but like show so much more. and not trip over the I've got to consciously not do I, me, like,
Yes.
so it
Well-
definitely is a learning curve.
Well, whatever, but I write in first person, so whatever.
I did not say that it stinks. I said it is a learning curve, and that I give authors credit who can do first person very well, because I cannot.
I write in both. I like both, actually. Like this last story I just wrote for another anthology for us, it was in third person. And, you know, it's fine. I like being in the MC's head.
It's fine. It's fine.
I really love being in the MC's head, because I'm like, tell me your secrets. What's going on? So
I think it comes to this.
my dogs.
It's like those side characters, though. Like, that's the thing, is I wanna write about them too, and I'm like, I can't, because he doesn't know. You know, the MC doesn't know what's going on in their heads, so I can't just jump over to them. That's where I always get stuck. And then, like you said, it's a lot of like the I, me, I, you know, and you're just assuming things because you're the main character. You don't really know everything that's going on. So
I agree. I agree with that. Like, that it's a lot. You have to be really careful that you don't. I mean, you have to be careful anyway with third person in character jumping or head jumping.
Right.
But really, it's all assumption coming from that first person point of view. But before I forget, I am going to answer this. What did I learn? I learned, I don't know. I learned to pull. I guess this is not so much in writing, but as far as marketing, like, I really pulled together and tried to do my best to pull together for you guys to like really come up with a conscious plan and have like this is what we're gonna do, and we're gonna like just have this and go for it. But I don't know. Did I learn anything while writing? I guess
sorry if you can hear my kids, by the way. I hope they're not distracting.
kids are fine.
they're not distracting. My kids are yelling downstairs. My dogs are barking. So it's fine. But I guess the one thing I learned was just like, honestly, if you have a question about a character and you want to write it, just do it. You know, because it can take on a life form of its own, as both of you have learned, like, really. And it opened some doors for us so that we've got a lot of readers demanding that we continue.
Yes, Nick.
Luckily, I already have something else. I already have. I just have to string them together.
Good.
So Carla, what has been your favorite part of this whole experience? It could be writing, it could be the joint effort, the learning anything about marketing, the whatever.
I liked working with you guys. I think you guys are awesome. I think I liked working with you guys. I think you're awesome. And honestly, I'm really proud of our little anthology. I think it's really good. And learned a little bit about marketing, definitely. Like, I'm one of those people that if I'm overwhelmed, I'll shut down. So I have to have like a strategic plan, which is what I did for my book coming out, because otherwise I will feel overwhelmed. I do know that. And that's not a good thing. Like, some people can have all these tasks coming at them and function just fine, Elle, but I can't. I will literally shut down and just sit there and and I'm done for the day. What's on TV? Because so I have to be organized. And every time I write something, I learn a little bit more about my strengths as a writer. And I become a little bit more picky as a writer as well. Like, as before, I would never read my stuff over because I'd be like, I know it all sounds stupid, and if I read it, I'm going to know it's stupid and then I'm just going to walk away. So now I've trained myself to continuously read things over. And I'm like catching things like, okay, I can phrase that a little different. So I found that, no, I won't necessarily just throw it away, that I will strive to fix it. So that's what I learned about myself.
Well, that is a good lesson to learn. And I'm glad that we could help with that. Nick, did you learn anything during either writing this story or during this anthology process?
I mean, now I'm just going to sound like an echo chamber, because I was going to say that, like, first off, I mean, this is my first time in an anthology. Like, I love short stories. I love short story collections. I like collecting them, but I've never been in one. So this is my first time, like, collaborating and working with people. And, like, you guys have been amazing. I've loved, like, this opportunity and just kind of getting to know you guys. And, I don't know, what I've learned is that, like, I should keep trying to do anthologies with people, because this is amazing. And hopefully, the three of us, let's just come up with a random idea and do something. Why not?
I agree.
Let's make it animal.
Right? Let's just do it. Like I've done anthologies before. So really this one I wanted to go at it a little bit differently, because it can sometimes feel like you're floundering as far as like marketing, like what comes next? How do we do this? And I wanted to hammer it out. And so I gave everyone some homework, and that's what I called it. It's homework. This is what you should do. This is how you can do it. This is where you can apply it. So I really tried to come at it from a teaching standpoint and not a preachy standpoint, because it is a learning curve. Like, I know I've done multiple anthologies and I know what works, what doesn't work, how to reach readers, how to get into certain things. Like I'm not like a know-all, but like I know, as like somebody who puts it on, what works and how to communicate. Hopefully I did communicate with those in the anthology. And
You did.
well, thank you, Nick. And really make it a team effort, because that's really what it's all about, is coming together, collaborating together, everybody pitching in some way. The weakest link should still have something to offer in their strongest point. And that's really how I came at it, is even if you don't know how to market, do what you can do. Just do it. That is my view. Do what you can do. Just do it, though. Just got to do it. So really, I learned that I think that's what people need going forward. So, and I would love to do more anthologies with you guys, because Nick, you've been awesome. Carla, I've worked with you before, but Nick, you've been a gem to work with, and honestly, just awesome. And it's been awesome getting to know you, and and I'm so glad you're wearing your Sailor Moon shirt.
And what's funny is I actually was trying to decide which Sailor Moon shirt to wear, because I have multiple. So I went with the black one. I have a white one, which probably would have been better with the backdrop. So I apologize right now.
That's okay.
It's a pro tip here. So behind me is, this is my Kraken. I went with the Kraken because of steampunk, obviously. And like the whole Cthulhu. I'm not gonna like make the throaty noise on the live right now, but but I have him in the background. Shower curtains, guys, make amazing backdrops during lives, and they're dirt cheap on Amazon. So you can get like a shower curtain for $14, and it's a fantastic backdrop. And this is a shower curtain.
That's incredible. This is a sheet.
Yeah.
Those are books.
Yeah.
I figure I put a bunch of books in a flask behind me, kind of get a vibe going.
Hey, I am in my bedroom right now. I know you can't tell, but this is my closet door. And this is how I get around that, and I look semi-professional. So I just like to, let everybody know this pro tip, because everyone thinks that they have to go out and buy this fancy backdrop. Like, no, this is a shower curtain.
It's a dope shower curtain.
Oh, thank you. And you know what? Where the rings go, you can hammer nails up on your wall or tacks or whatever, or like command strips and hang it up when you have to do a live.
So what's funny, to go behind the curtain a little bit, I have like a Lovecraft themed bathroom. So it's a lot of octopus monsters and
That's
weird
awesome.
creatures and stuff. When we bought the house, that was like our big goal. I should have just did it in there.
You should have. Because
Next
that would have been like on theme. Like
Coming live from the bathroom.
coming live from a bathroom right now. This is going to turn into a completely different live. So, you guys, this is, we're coming toward the end of the interview here. So, I have 2 more questions, and this one is it's kind of been answered, but it's a serious question. Carla, do you have any plans for a spinoff?
What?
A spinoff of your story?
Well, I am working on an invention to extend time. So if we can get that going and my money tree grows in the backyard, been watering it for years, then yes. But, in all honesty, I do. Because I saw an adventure with Jackson, Parasol, and Pearl in my head, and I wrote notes down on it. So now it's just actually writing it. And now that I told Elle that, I fear she may make me write it.
Hey, it's out there. It is on the internet. It is eternal now. So, not dying.
But yes, because I want to dive more into the history, because I did leave the story at the end of who the first vampire was.
You did. And that was like a mic drop.
No. You wouldn't guess it's Sailor Moon, guys, but
No.
It is.
Exactly.
I knew it was Sailor Moon. I knew.
From the very All right. So I will say, out of all of us, you had the most demand for like a whole book of this. Like, we all got demands, but you specifically, this better be turned into a full length because I want to read more of this world, was like the ultimate demand for you for this anthology. For someone who was doubting themselves constantly.
Yes.
Who almost threw in the towel multiple times.
Yes.
Because they were pointing their finger at Nick going, I can't compete with it.
Which is ridiculous. Yours is incredible.
Surely was. I was like, wait a minute. He opened with this scene and I suck. But yes, I probably will, because it'll just start gnawing at me, and I'm like, okay, let me just go ahead and write it. So
you better. And the best part of this, guys, everyone that's watching, the best part was when I decided that Carla was going to be the opening story.
That was a little scary. I was like, that's messed up. So basically what you're saying is they're all going to laugh at me. And I had this Carrie moment, and I was like, oh my God, they're all going to laugh at me.
You were going to kill us?
Yes. Yes, I was.
Oh, finally.
That's the plot twist.
Honestly, out of all of us, yeah, I'll write the story, and I know that Elle has plans for her character. I'm going to give away a spoiler here in a minute. Anyway, Nick, I have to know what happens when they go to the next world. I have to. Like, I actually told Elle that. I was like, what? Wait, I have to know what happens when they go to the next world.
Spoiler alert, nothing happens. There's nothing happens. They're dead.
That's the true Carrie moment. Everyone's dead, gone,
Dead.
died. It was, an end game thing. Just snap and they gone.
I don't particularly care for Nick right now. I'm going to be sending you some hate mail, buddy.
But Nick, you kind of touched on this earlier about having these characters be from another world. So would you continue in this particular place, or would you go to the other place?
So since I've already worked on some stuff that connects them a little bit, it would probably be both. They would probably spend more time. I know, like, if anybody read it, there's kind of a hint that, like, maybe the main character has been there before, and
Yes,
maybe
there was.
frowned upon a little bit for coming back. So I have a whole story outside of that I got to work on. I think just like both of you said, I have other things that I have to get done. My series, the final book, is due, and I'm still on first draft mode. So so that is like pulling my main focus right now. But yeah, I mean, that's my my back burner project. Every time I hit writer's block, I flip over and I work on that one.
And that's awesome. That's awesome that you go to that, and that's kind of like your joy project to get you unstuck too.
Yeah.
For me, I already kind of said that this is, let's just say that this is a prequel, and I am working on, once I wade through my list of projects that I have to do, I've got a list of projects that I need to do, but definitely you'll see these characters again in a different light. You will see them.
Yeah, I know. I know. Hey, audience members, if you want to know what's going to happen.
Carla's going to drop some spoilers, but you'll see them in a different light. And really toward the end of Gossamer and Thorns, you can kind of tell where it's going. So that is my answer for that. My last question, if you guys have any questions that you want to ask each other, feel free to. If somebody's on the fence, and they're like, why should I buy this beautiful book? The cover's so hideous, right? Like, so, if they're on the fence, why do you think that they should buy this?
Because we told them to, and I just told you people about my Carrie moment. No, honestly, I think that it's an engaging story. It's something you can sit down in an afternoon, tell everybody to leave you home, get your beverage of choice, and just enjoy. Yeah, just enjoy. Like, I think that each story is engaging. Each story has something to it that will make you go, wonder what happens next. Especially Nick's. I'm not buying that everybody dies. But anyway, so we, yeah. And if you do read it, if you do buy it, message me and I will give away spoilers about what comes next with Elle's story. So there's your incentive. There is your incentive.
Selling my secrets.
Exactly. I created a brothel in mine, so
I was going to say, like, who are you, like Finnick over here? Like, I'm going to tell secrets? Like, oh my word! Yeah, Nick, why would they buy it if they're on the fence? Why should they?
I would say it's a good gateway. I know people have like kind of put that in the reviews, but there's a lot of other genres at work outside of steampunk. I mean, there's Western, there's fantasy, there's, I would say, more dark fantasy, gothic, but it's something where you could pick it up and go, I don't know, I'm not that familiar with steampunk, and then it's something else. That's why you should pick it up, is because there's other things about it that aren't just steampunk.
I agree. it has genre bending moments, you know, where there's Western, there's fantasy, there's supernatural, you know, there's sci-fi fantasy, there's romance, gothic romance, dark fantasy. You know, if you're not interested in steampunk, you're still going to be okay because there's so much, you know, variance in our stories while we're all still staying true to the steampunk umbrella. That I really think that, hey, if you're not a fan of one genre or the other, you're going to be okay because it encompasses everything. So that being said, do you guys have any questions for each other? And if you don't, it's totally fine.
I do.
All
Titles. Right. How did everybody come up with their title? I'll start with Nick. It's an interesting title.
I'll tell you. In the title, there's the
Everybody dies. No.
That should be your title. Everybody's dead.
So it's supposed to hint at basically the city, and that they frown upon him. So that's the title. He is a bad guy. He steals things. Also, just so I could put it out there, I used Google Translate for this. I think a lot of people do that. So the title is actually what they call him. I'm not going to try and pronounce the word because I have tried. But the word that like the wardens call him, that title, that's actually translated into the title of the story.
Interesting. Yeah. Now I'm going to go do that and look it up.
Yeah. I won't give away what language it is, but it's German.
It's German.
Keep your secrets. Keep your secrets.
I needed it to sound angry, and what can I go with? Gaelic, Italian? Those are not angry languages. German.
German is very angry. Like butterfly is Schmetterling. Like. Oh my gosh. My title is actually a reflection of Chris and Emily. So Gossamer is, you know, this delicate fabric, and that would be Emily, and then Chris is the Thorns. And he loves dabbling with botany. So I thought, like, you know, go with the whole Gossamer, like the lace wings and all that stuff. And then the Thorns, obviously. He's kind of thorny. What about you, Carla?
Yeah.
Because I gave away what the story was about.
I'm there with you.
They did. They all died at the end.
Yeah, everybody dies. Everybody's gone. Everybody's gone, and it's unfortunate.
All right.
Yeah, the title came to me first when I switched stories. And I was like, interesting. Now let's fit a story around this one. So, yeah. But yeah, it does, like Nick's, just give away what the story's about.
You know, I did struggle. Like, originally this had a different title, and I was like, it just kind of sounds like very cliche. It was going to be like The Clockwork Rose, and I was like,
oh, that's lovely.
It is, but it's very cliche, and I was like, no, like. And honestly, I've had more feedback on Gossamer and Thorns being the title than I think I probably would with The Clockwork Rose, which when you read the story, that makes sense as to The Clockwork Rose. But yeah, no spoilers. No spoilers, Carla.
Well, if they buy the book, they can always message me for spoilers.
You got to show the proof of purchase, though, okay? You got to.
Yeah, you got to show the proof of purchase. You got to show it. I have another one. How do you feel about describing characters? I'll start with Nick again.
Like, in what way? Like, do I like describing the characters?
Yeah, like, you know how you're reading something and all of a sudden there's this, like, 15 paragraph description of the person. You're like, what were we talking about again? So, I mean, where are you on that?
So I think it needs to be like more natural. Like if I'm talking to somebody, if I'm talking to you guys, I'm not going to sit there and like stare at you and kind of break down every individual part about you in my head before we start the conversation. So a lot of the times it comes up. Occasionally, you have to do that. You know, you have to just get it out there for the reader. Otherwise, they're like, who the hell is this person? But I don't know. I like it to be a little bit more like you start to notice things about them as they're talking or as they're approaching you, rather than, you know, this is this person. Here's everything about them. Now here they're going to say something.
Yeah, I agree. That's really weird, and it's honestly like you're like staring at them, going like, you know, it looks more natural. It's different. It depends on the scene. If somebody bursts into a room and it's more like a ha ha, and they're like presenting themselves, and you're kind of like looking at them, you're going to look them up and down. You're going to notice more because it's like you know, one of those shock things. Like, I got to register. Like, I need to know what my murderer looks like before I die. Or, you know, whereas like the first thing that I noticed when Carla came into the back room was her beautiful hair. And then she pointed out behind her the flask. I wouldn't have noticed the flask if she didn't point it out. So it's like a natural thing. Like I would have described Carla's face, and then I would have gone to the backdrop if my eyes had traveled there anyway, unless like a murderer in the background came in, and then I'd notice him all the way up and down.
What about you? Since you asked the question.
Yeah, I find I have to go back and describe them because it doesn't feel natural to me that, yeah, you would, unless it's a funny moment. Like I know in my first book that was published, Lineage, Nicole has a tendency, that's my main character, she has a tendency to notice things in a humorous way. Like she's almost making fun of certain things, not people's attributes or something like that, but her surroundings in a sense. Or if the surrounding itself is invoking an emotion, and then that's easier to describe to me. I find that is more realistic because you can walk down a street and you're completely scared and you're noticing everything because you're scared, because you're looking for danger, and you're like, oh my gosh, there's trash in the corner. Is someone under that trash? You know, so you're noticing all these things. But as far as describing characters in the midst of us having a conversation, unless they have something on their face, you're just not really noticing that. You may notice the cadence of speech, like how they're talking, or if they get really angry and start waving their hands around, you might notice more about them. So I find that that's one of the things like I said, when I was learning about my writing, I said, I usually go back and add that in, but now when I'm reading over, if it still sounds stilted, I'll remove most of it and then a couple of editors said, well, why don't you add in, some more description? Well, that doesn't make any sense. Is my character just standing there and then they're wearing this? And then, so I don't know. Unless it invokes emotion, I won't notice it.
I think that there's definitely certain like authors and maybe even genres where that's required. So everybody's on like the Dune wave all of a sudden right now because of the movie. The first time I read Dune, I was like, they are describing everybody the second we meet them. We meet a character and then the full page is every little thing about them. And I found that hard, but I also I get it now. Like I get that sometimes you have to get this out there because people are going to wonder what they look like. All these features about them,
Yeah, I agree. And I apologize again for my dogs. My husband is actually home this time. The others were false alarms.
Murderers.
The other ones were just murderers. And,
yeah, they were the murderers. I mean, hopefully my children took notice of them as they they get the character description as they came in. I agree though. Like sometimes it does call for it. It does really call for it but it has to be something. I think it's a way to get a character to be memorable, like to stand out. I'm not a Tolkien. I easily could be if I allowed myself to be, as far as describing everything, every little knickknack, every little pleat in a skirt, every, it's a way to get immersed. I'm so sorry about my dogs.
That's fine. They're just background noise.
People like that.
It's a way to really get immersed into these epics, so when you're writing something that's just supposed to be easily digest, I don't find it necessary to detail the pleats in a skirt unless like, it really calls, like you're reaching down and you want to add to that with the I'm reaching down and the pleat in the skirt, the way it like goes through his fingers or something like that. The way that her hair is caught in the moonlight or something like that. So the character cements it into their head. I feel like it has to be so the character is committing it to memory. As far as like my characterization, when there are moments where Chris is really committing things to memory because it's important. It's important to really remember all of those things. And that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, another thing that you notice, and this is human nature, period, is male, female, whatever. You'll notice someone you're attracted to. So you are gonna kind of, maybe notice a few things that stand out to you. I mean, if you go full on down to how their toes curling, then maybe you need some help and therapy and
please don't do that.
You're a stalker. You're a stalker, and you just need to accept that. But if you're just noticing, their eye color, because that's something you're supposed to be looking at, and things like that, that makes sense to me. But yeah,
I agree. Any more questions?
I have one.
Okay.
How do you guys come up with names for people, for places, for everything? How do you come up with a name?
I have a name for all the characters in my story. I actually have names. I actually have over 100 names for one book.
Is that lineage? Because I know I had to make candles for 14 characters.
And I'll tell you how I come up with names, but the reason why is because they're not real to me if they don't have a name. Like Never-Ending Story. How she had to get a name. They're not real to me. Like I can say the grocery store worker, but then they become like fixtures. But if I as a character frequent that grocery store, then I probably know that person's name. That's how I look at it. But as far as coming up with names, I have a name book. And then I also write out the letters of the alphabet. And I'll make a little mark every time I create someone's name using that letter so that I don't have 15 people's names that start with S, because I have a tendency to do that. But yeah, a name book.
Yeah. So I don't have a name book. What I tend to do first is create the land that it's based out of, So in the case of Gossamer and Thorns, this is Ogderland, and Ogderland is Sweden. So I have to pick names that are Scandinavian. So then I go down like the list of baby names from Scandinavia, and that encompasses like Finland, the Netherlands, Sweden, Denmark. So I get to play with all these kind of names, but I really go for the meaning. And I try to find something that fits the character that already is created. And then I apply the name to that. And as for the place name, what I actually do is I go to Google Translate and I start pairing words that, I want it. I forgot what Ogderland means, but it's two words paired together. Lund is just land. I forgot what Ogder means, but I just combine two words together and create this place. And I do that with like all of my stories. The Castle of Thorns, which is my recent release, it's based on Germany. So it has like a lot of German words and foods, and it's like supposed to be reminiscent of like a grim fairy tale, because it's based off of one. But that is how I really come up with character names, is decide first of all, if this were the real world, where is it based off of? And then combining words together to create a place. And then from there, I go, hey, let's find names that are from Germany, from Sweden, and let it go. Though I will say, the character originally had a different last name who was named after, and I changed it because I was like, I can't put his name in a book, and I can't have his name be attached to this character because he was my favorite teacher in high school. And his last name was so cool. His last name was Sheely, and it is not at all spelt how you think it's spelt. It's Skjerli, Sheely. And I adored him. And Chris's original surname was Sheely. And I'm like, I can't do that. I can't do that to my favorite teacher.
What about you, Nick?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I don't have a name book. I do the same thing where I'm like, where is this taking place? What do these people look like? What would like suit them without it seeming like it's all just randomized? I don't use a lot of actual names because I don't want to accidentally name somebody and then somebody I know is like, hey, wait a minute. Like, I try really hard not to do that. But I do find myself going back and having to change names because I've used the same first initial way too much. My first book that got published during like before I even sent it out, when I tried to have beta readers on it, the first note I got back is that there's too many A names. And I was looking and I was like, oh my God, there's like 11 people with the name that starts with A, because they're all, that book's different, but there was all supposed to be like pulled from like Old Testament Bible stuff, because that's what that has to do with. And there was a lot of A names. So I had to
Adam Abram, like Abraham, and
yeah. So then I had to like switch gears, and I was like, I gotta start making up names. But I also like to translate. I also like thinking of something that has to do with the character and then going to translate, making it work, and bringing it back over. Because people don't know that, and it's fun.
It is fun. And I apologize on behalf of authors and also readers in that language if it is like, oops, lost in translation there. Didn't mean to offend. No. But yeah, no, it is a fun way to come up with different names, because that is the thing when you're writing so many different characters, or in my case, producing a lot of books and a lot of stories. Yes. You use up names really quickly, so you have to get creative, and sometimes it's a matter of just mishmashing words together, or a lot of the times, I'll let you guys in on a secret. There is like fantasy name generators out there that come up with really cool names. Yes. And I use that a lot too. I don't use word Bibles. I use the fantasy name generators, or like I go to the D&D thing and just roll. Yeah.
The D&D thing is amazing for cool names.
It is. My cat's name, sidetracking, my cat's name is Leylin. D&D roll. So
that's awesome. My cat's name is Booster Gold, and that's from DC Comics. So there's that.
There you go.
Fancy.
But you know, like, it's all a matter of getting really creative in how you name your characters. Because once you start getting, like, you know, like Carla said, she's got 100 characters, you know, 14 mains, if you will. You run out of names really quickly. So that's probably why she named me the proprietor of Willow City.
Exactly. Yeah, my name book actually has the meaning of the name. It's this book I bought. Sherilyn Kenyon put it out. It actually has by region the different names, common names.
Oh.
So I just look up, let me see, this person's this. Let's look up that region, and then it actually tells you what the meaning is of each name.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I don't want to keep you guys forever and ever on this live, because I know we could. Does anybody want to read a clip? I'm not going to pressure anybody, so feel free to say no. Does anybody want to read a little short blurb from their story?
That's going to be a no. Huh?
That's fine. That is fine, because then we'll just wrap this up, and I can take care of my dogs, and I know Nick has children to take care of.
Oh yeah, little ones.
So on that note, I just want to remind everybody that we do have this amazing giveaway that we're doing. There will be one lucky winner, and let's just say, for the sake of this, we will pick somebody next week on Friday, which I think is Black Friday, right? At this point?
Yeah.
Oh, is it already? Yeah, it's Thanksgiving next week, guys.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, Black Friday, we will pick a winner. And you guys need to share this and comment even on the rebroadcast to be entered to win. Those who do not win the big prize, don't worry, you're going to get a bookmark. Again, my dogs, I apologize. But share, the more the merrier. And you can see how many bookmarks we can give out, like blackjack dealers over here.
They're going down fast, guys. We have a limited supply. They're going fast.
They are going fast. Hot tickets, I'm telling you. But yeah, again, the big prize is the candle that smells amazing because I made it and you want to have it, and it's in a gold tin and it looks beautiful. A physical copy of Beyond the Cogs. And we work so hard on our stories and we're amazing, so you need to support us. And the beautiful pocket watch, which it's hard to see the detail, but I will link a picture of all the items below. It is engraved, it's gorgeous, and you want to have it. And also the 2 bookmarks. So share away. And we wish that you buy this copy of Beyond the Cogs, because we work
absolutely.
We work so hard, and honestly, I'm not just saying this, it really was a joy to do this anthology. Different stories, but all somehow we came together and we made it rock. So Carla, where can everybody find you across the interwebs?
Oh my gosh. My website's vonzalelewis.com. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. I refuse to go into the cesspool of Twitter, so I have a page on there, but that is a dumpster fire, and I am not getting in there.
Carrie moment right there.
Yeah. Until my hazmat suit comes in.
Yep.
Then I might go in there. But yeah.
All right. How about you, Nick?
I am at Nick Evans Writes on Instagram and Twitter. I'm most active on Instagram. Don't follow me on Facebook. I don't do anything on there. Don't even bother. And I am working on a mailing list. Thank you, by the way, Elle, for all the information on that. So that's going to drop soon. But right now, just hit me up on Instagram.
Awesome. And you can find me at ellebeaumontbooks.com. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook at Elle Beaumont Books, and also TikTok at Elle Beaumont Books. I have a newsletter, which if you sign up for that, you get some freebies emailed to you in 3 weeks' time, one thing each week. And also, I suggest hitting up my reader group, which is Elle Beaumont Street Team on Facebook, because I do some awesome things in there. I do some readings and some giveaways and some polls, so you get to choose what I write and whatnot. So go ahead and interact with me, because I can be talkative sometimes, most of the time, about books. So go ahead and hit me up, follow me, follow all of these wonderful, lovely authors. You can find out the latest and the greatest about Midnight Tide Publishing by following us right here on Facebook, also on Instagram at Midnight Tide Publishing. And also, if you go to midnightttidepublishing.com and sign up for our newsletter, you can get it delivered right to your inbox every Wednesday. And also, we have a street team that you can sign up for right on our website as well, and sign up for ARCs, cover reveals, and any kind of promo to help out some authors. So it has been amazing, guys, now that I had to do my professional spiel. So thank you so much, guys, for hanging out with me and taking the time to answer my questions and goof off with me.
It was fun.
It really has been a pleasure working with you, and I seriously hope to continue working with you. Carla, you can't get away from me, so I'm just going to say, Nick, honestly, it's been really great to work with you. You've been fun.
It has, Nick.
And
we'll be doing it again.
We are. We need to decide what it's going to be, but it'll
next year. It's Beyond the Wires, the Cyberpunk Anthology.
There you go, Carla. There you go. It's going to be a cyberpunk anthology. Let's go. Like,
oh crap!
Bottoms up, Carla. We've got to get a couple more drinks into her.
Yeah, you are. And I'm going to need an emotional support doll as well.
All right. Well, you guys have a fantastic night. And viewers, if you're watching this on the replay, have a fantastic night, day, whatever it is for you. We hope that you've enjoyed this, and I hope you hear from us soon, and have a great evening.
Bye, everybody.